Okay, my friends, let me take you through these results that we got by surveying APA board-certified psychiatrists recently. This was inspired by Harrison Pope's and colleagues' paper in 1999 where they asked board-certified APA members, psychiatrists, about their beliefs about dissociative amnesia, about whether it should be in the DSM or not, and about whether they think it's a valid construct, a valid diagnosis. Okay, so let's get through this. I think this talk should last about 20 or 25 minutes to fit into the conference. Now, first of all, let me tell you about the sample. All of them were board certified psychiatrists. There was 67 participants in all because we struggled a little bit to get a bigger response. We emailed 1,000 participants and we only got about 90 responses, and only 67 of them were board certified psychiatrists. So I've taken a little bit of the data of those who are not board certified. I've taken out of the data set here. So we're just talking about members of the American Psychiatric Association. Age range from 30 to 87, mean age 57. 66% of the participants were male psychiatrists. Over 80% were white. Over 10% were Asian, and about 5% were Black or African American. Just to give you an idea of the sample. Okay, so the first question we asked them was exactly the same question that Harrison Pope asked them back in 1999. If the DSM-5 were to be revised today, how should it treat the diagnosis of dissociative amnesia? And the psychiatrists answered this way. Just only 3% said it should not be included at all in the DSM. 29% said it should be included with reservations. 36% said it should be included without any reservations, so it should be just in there. And a full 33% gave no opinion. Now, I contrasted those answers with a question that we asked later, which was, to which degree do you agree with the statement, repressed memories can be retrieved in therapy accurately? And there was a scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So let me take you through the percentages here and explain it a little bit. So of those who disagree with the idea that repressed memories can be retrieved in therapy accurately, only 7% said that the dissociative amnesia should not be included in the DSM at all. So there's a little bit of a mismatch there, right? So they disagree with the idea of repressed memories, but very few of them think that dissociative amnesia should not be in the DSM. So obviously there's a mismatch in definitions here, at least in the psychiatrist's mind, of what repressed memories are and what dissociative amnesia is. And maybe we'll have time to discuss that at the end. There are parts of dissociative amnesia that are very similar in definition to the full definition of repressed memories. But obviously, these psychiatrists are maybe not focusing on that core definition. Okay, so of those who disagreed with the idea of repressed memories being retrieved in therapy accurately, 41% said that the dissociative amnesia should be included in the DSM-5 with reservations. 28% said it should be included without reservations in the DSM. And of those, and this is not surprising, of those that did agree with the idea that repressed memories can be retrieved in therapy accurately, none of them said that dissociative amnesia should not be included in the DSM-5. So that makes sense. But obviously, in the psychiatrist's mind, dissociative amnesia and repressed memories are not the same thing. Perhaps because the whole theory of dissociative amnesia contains a lot of other things too, such as the theory that trauma leads to dissociation. So maybe they're agreeing with that rather than the repressed memory part of the definition. Of those who did believe that the diagnosis of dissociative amnesia should be in the DSM-5, I diverted them to a follow-up question of why do you believe that dissociative amnesia should be in the DSM-5? And 63% said, I think both global dissociative amnesia and selective dissociative amnesia for traumatic experiences are valid disorders, right? So even the selective dissociative amnesia, which has a similar definition to repressed memories, is thought of as valid by these psychiatrists. On question 3, we asked, in your opinion, what is the status of scientific evidence regarding the validity of dissociative amnesia? And only 9% of these psychiatrists said there's little or no evidence of validity. 43% said there's partial evidence of validity, and 11% said there's strong evidence of validity. All right, and there was 37% had no opinion, which is quite a sizable amount. That's an interesting group of those who said no opinion. Now we went on to another question that was not included in Harrison Pope's original article, but when I contacted him a couple of years ago, he wished he included this question because he said it's the crux of the debate over dissociative amnesia. It's the most important type of dissociative amnesia that he is most skeptical of, and I'm most skeptical of, and that's selective dissociative amnesia, which is very similar to repressed memories, a typical old definition of repressed memories. Okay, so let me take you through what the participants were told about this as a definition. So we told them one type of selective dissociative amnesia is when somebody selectively develops amnesia for a traumatic event while simultaneously having normal memory for the non-traumatic events surrounding it. For example, remembering your everyday experiences in church or school, while simultaneously developing amnesia for severe abuse during that same time period, right? So this is a classical definition of what, Pope would have been critical of, what Elizabeth Loftus and I would be critical of. Now we ask them the question, do you believe that the human brain is capable of developing that specific type of selective dissociative amnesia? And here is the surprise findings. 92% said yes, they do, of psychiatrists said yes, they do believe that the human brain is capable of this specific type of selective dissociative amnesia where you remember everything that happens in school or church, but simultaneously you forget severe abuse during the same time period. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so I took that same question and cross-referenced it with a later question where we asked them, to what degree do you agree that repressed memories can be retrieved in therapy accurately? Now let's take those who disagreed with that statement first. Of those who disagreed with the idea of repressed memories, 90% of them said yes, they do believe that human brain is capable of developing a specific type of selective dissociative amnesia. Isn't that an amazing mismatch, right? So obviously they think dissociative amnesia, selective dissociative amnesia is different from repressed memories. Now this may be because they're not recently informed or they haven't really deeply dug into the definitions. Just goes to show that psychiatrists are human like everybody else. They may be using heuristics about what dissociative amnesia is. But isn't that a surprise? And it shows that despite the similarities between repressed memory and dissociative amnesia in definition, obviously in psychiatrists' mind, those definitions do not match up. And of course, within those who agreed with the idea of repressed memories, it makes sense that 97% of them think that people are capable of selectively dissociative amnesia. 5b, The next question was, do you believe that the evidence for that type of selective dissociative amnesia is strong enough to merit inclusion of this specific type of amnesia in the DSM-5? Now, 57% of them said yes, there is enough evidence for it to be included. So that gives, 14% saying no, and then this big other category that we found elsewhere, 29%, perhaps those were unsure. And these individuals did write individual answers to this when they said other, but I don't have time to go into all the large range of the views that they expressed in this presentation. Again, I cross-referenced this question, is there enough evidence for it to be included in the DSM-5? So selective dissociative amnesia, in my mind, it's exactly the same as repressed memories. But let's look at the results. Those who disagree with the idea of repressed memories, with the statement on repressed memories being retrieved accurately, a full 48% of them nevertheless said yes, it should be in the DSM-5, right? So again, there's this mismatch that we've been finding in a few of these questions. Okay, so let's move on to a question that we asked in my 2014 article. So we asked psychiatrists, to what degree do you agree with the idea that, with the statement that traumatic memories are often repressed, and we gave them this little definition afterwards, which means that a person cannot remember the traumatic event due to a defense against painful content. Now this graph just shows you that most individuals are on the right side of this graph. Look at how many agree to some degree. So quite a lot slightly agree, even more agree with this statement, and quite a lot strongly agree with this statement. So here are the results of the last slide in table form. So you can see that the vast majority of psychiatrists were on the agree side of things, right? So 26% slightly agreed, 32% agreed, and a full 22% strongly agreed. Now we asked another question, 6A. You indicated some level of agreement with the idea that traumatic memories are often repressed. What do you mean exactly? So only those who indicated some agreement got this question. Now this answers the question of, do people or psychiatrists really believe that the term repressed memories means inaccessible, unconscious memories? Chris Bruin in the United Kingdom says no, they just mean suppression. Actually, no, look at these results. A full 84% of these psychiatrists said that when they said that, they think that such traumatic memories are inaccessible to the person during the period of repression. So they're talking about full repression, not suppression. Most of them are. Now, we also asked, you indicated some level of agreement with the idea that traumatic are often repressed. What do you mean exactly? This time we focused the question on, did they mean unconscious or conscious, right? And again, a full 86% meant unconscious repression of traumatic memories. So when people are understanding the word repressed memories, they are really understanding it as Freud laid it out, the full definition, which is unconscious, inaccessible traumatic memories, for the most part, 86% of them. And then 0% reported thinking that that meant conscious to the person. So this is one of the criticisms that Chris Bruin and Andrews put forward of our idea that most people believe in a strong version of repressed memories in our 2014 paper. And I think this follow-up question confirms what we thought originally, that yes, they really do mean unconscious, they really do mean inaccessible repressed memory, and they really do believe that they're possible. So this is what we're up against. Skeptics of this idea are up against a difficult challenge of even psychiatrists, a lot of them, believing in this construct. Okay, so let's go over question 7 that we cross-referenced earlier. Let's take the raw results. Repressed memories can be retrieved in therapy accurately. And you can see a little bit more of a spread here with a few more disagreeing with this one than the last question, but nevertheless quite a lot of psychiatrists agreeing with that. And here are the numbers. So 33% of psychiatrists slightly agreed with the idea of repressed memories, 16% agreed, and 5% strongly agreed with the idea that repressed memories can be retrieved in therapy accurately. All right, so we're into, the kind of similar percentages that we found in Psychiatrists in our 2014 paper, although we won't compare them here because there's a more interesting comparison to make with the Pope paper in this presentation. Okay. So we had a follow-up question because we really want to get down to what people really mean when they're answering these questions. So you indicated some level of agreement with the idea that repressed memories can be retrieved in therapy accurately. What do you mean exactly? And 64% said, I think therapy techniques can uncover accurate memories of traumas that the person did not even know happened to them before therapy. All right, so that's a strong definition of repression that we're most concerned of, right? And then, but 24%, to be fair, said something different. They said, I think therapy techniques cannot uncover accurate memories of traumas that the person did not even know about happened to them before therapy. In other words, my answer was only referring to traumas they already knew about and had not thought about in a while. Okay, so this is a kind of mechanism that we accept as being possible. So that's a more reasonable idea about what a suppressed memory would be. So this is like a suppressed memory. So 24% meant a suppressed memory, but quite a lot meant a strong definition of repression. And then 12% said other. Okay, so one of the most interesting comparisons to put into this talk is comparing our results to Harrison Pope's results of 1999, which I assume he collected, maybe in 1998, I'm not sure. We collected our data in 2018. So in 1999, they asked the question, if the DSM were to be revised today, how should it treat the diagnosis of dissociative amnesia? And in 1999, 9% said should not be included at all. In 2018, that went down to 3%. All right, so you would expect skepticism maybe to rise, at least within our little bubble of skeptics. We thought that might have been going up, but it hasn't been going up in psychiatrists. So maybe there's some need for dissemination of ideas, at least, so that all the ideas can get out onto the table, and then sunlight can kind of disinfect the bad ideas, and maybe the good ideas will be preserved and chosen. Maybe a new discussion is needed. Similarly, in 1999, only 48% said that dissociative amnesia should be included only with reservations in the DSM. And that went down to 29%. Now, what stayed constant was what percentage of participants said that it should be included without any reservations. So still, around a third of psychiatrists are saying dissociative amnesia should be in the DSM without any reservations and without any worries. They really believe in it. In other words, they believe in its validity. Now, the interesting shift here is into the no opinion category. So in the intervening years, a lot of people have started to put themselves into the no opinion category here of dissociative amnesia. Now, I don't understand why that is. Maybe the topic has become more fuzzy. Maybe the lengthening of the definition in the DSM-5 has made it so that they agree with parts of it, but they don't agree with other parts of it. I can identify with that to an extent. But that requires more thought. Now, we also asked, let's compare the question, in your opinion, what is the status of scientific evidence regarding the validity of dissociative amnesia? Now, in 1999, a full 19% said there's little or no evidence of validity. Now, that has gone down in 2018 to 9% of psychiatrists. Quite a lot has been published in the area of trauma and dissociation, like correlations between trauma and dissociation, and maybe that has helped lower the number of psychiatrists who think there's no evidence. So it's a tricky societal issue that's going to take a lot of brain power to solve this disparities and to make decisions on the DSM. Similar numbers said that there's only partial evidence of validity for dissociative amnesia in the 40s, from 1999 to 2018, about the same. And in 1999, 69% said that there is strong evidence of validity. Now, interestingly, that has gone down to 11% in 2018. So that maybe is a movement towards skepticism about the idea of strong validity. So this is a strange set of results, right? And here is what's interesting, which I don't know how to explain yet. A lot of psychiatrists have moved from any of these categories into the no opinion category. A full 37% now put themselves in the no opinion category. Now, of course, this level of agreement with a disorder is not a good sign for inter-rater reliability, because if there's this level of disagreement about the validity of a diagnosis, maybe it shouldn't be in scientific documents. I'm sure that this kind of level of disagreement about validity of a medical diagnosis would perhaps keep it out of medical textbooks and medical guidebooks, at least until it's sorted out. So just to wrap this up, because I've already gone to 24 minutes, I've just got one more minute left. These are findings that show that there's not a high level of agreement between psychiatrists, which gives questions to inter-rater reliability when it comes to dissociative amnesia. But nevertheless, it also surprised me in that a larger number of psychiatrists showed a credulous belief in dissociative amnesia. What surprised me is that they didn't notice, as we have noticed, that dissociative amnesia has a very similar definition to repressed memories. So on the one hand, psychiatrists are agreeing with being a little bit skeptical of repressed memories, especially the second question about accuracy, repressed memories being recalled accurately in therapy. They're fairly skeptical about that, at least nearly half of them. But when it comes to dissociative amnesia, a vast majority of them are indicating that they think there is some validity to selective dissociative amnesia. Now, my first conclusion is that I don't think that they realize that selective dissociative amnesia is basically the same as repressed memories. So half of them showing skepticism about repressed memory recovery being accurate, but that same half, almost all of that half, are not being skeptical about selective dissociative amnesia. So terminology is so important in this area. Okay, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much, and bye for now.